Hello everyone, welcome back to Beach's Brews. My name's Chase Beecher, and today we have for you a little bit of a mad science experiment. So on this channel, I have made a few different meads. I've made a cider. All of them have been fairly traditional or from a recipe. I decided during a recent trip to Costco that I was going to do something a little crazy. So while there, I had located a 1 gallon container of organic mango nectar and a 1 gallon container of guava nectar. What really drew me to these was that A, they're labeled as organic, and B, they have no artificial sweeteners in them, and they don't have any sort of chemicals or anything like that that will stall or prevent fermentation either. I don't know how this is going to go. Full disclosure, I don't know how this is going to go. My first thoughts were to incorporate a little bit of these into a larger container of apple juice and make sort of a mango, guava, cider or so, but that wasn't crazy enough for me. We're going to mix the two of these together and see how it turns out. So what we're going to need today is, for equipment, I have a 1 gallon fermenter. I have my turkey baster, my graduated cylinder and hydrometer to take a reading. I have my measuring tools here, and then a spattle and something to stir the brew with. For the ingredients, we are going to have, for this mango guava wine, I don't really know what to call it, but we are going to use roughly half a gallon of mango nectar, roughly half a gallon of guava nectar. We have 1 teaspoon of yeast, 1 teaspoon of yeast nutrient, and half a teaspoon of wine tannin. For the yeast, we are going to use Lalvin EC 1118. I went with this one because of its tendency to be more neutral or not produce many esters and things like that. I really want to taste this for what it is. So the process for this one is going to be a little bit different than usual. I don't have any big measuring cups or anything like that to measure out a half gallon of each of these. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use the markings on my fermenter. It has multiple lines for different volumes, and I'm just going to utilize that to help me out here. I'm going to start by putting in probably just the mango nectar here. I'm going to put a half gallon of that in there. And then I'm going to add the rest of the dry ingredients minus the yeast. I'm going to shake that up, and then we'll pour in the guava nectar. So wish me luck on this one. Okay, that is the mango nectar into the container. You probably noticed that I shook up the nectar a little bit here. There's some cloudiness to this. I just wanted to make sure everything was incorporated properly. But then we're going to move on to our yeast nutrient here. So for this, we are going to have a half a teaspoon of nutrient. So this is a 1/2 teaspoon measure. So just one of those. Then we are going to, pardon me for that one. It's actually a 1 teaspoon of yeast nutrient. So we're going to put in 2 of them. For the wine tannin, this is the one that's 1/2 teaspoon. Now, I do not know if this brew is going to need any additional tannins. It's pretty thick already, but figure better be safe than sorry. So now I'm going to just put the lid back on. Going to give this a swirl, give it a shake, get some oxygen into the mix. The yeast like the oxygen to help them build their colonies, get them going right away. So I'm going to mix this up, and then we'll put in the guava nectar. Open her back up, and then we're going to put in the guava. Now before I throw in the yeast or take a reading, I'm just going to give this a little bit of a stir. I noticed that while shaking the mango nectar, that the wine tannin wasn't incorporating quite as well as I would like. So now that we've given that a quick stir, it's time for a reading. I didn't forget this time. So you've probably noticed that I haven't included any additional sugars in this recipe. I could have looked at the containers of the different nectars here, seen what the sugar content of each is, and then calculated out roughly what the original gravity would be if we didn't add any sugars. But that wouldn't be mad science-y enough for me. Plus, I've made quite a few of the higher ABV brews lately, and I think that my wife would probably like a little bit of a break from those. So we'll go with something a little lighter this time. By a little lighter, I mean that is 1.050, pretty much right on the nose. So, quick brewer's maths, that'll give us about a 6 or 7% or so. I'll get you the final total ABV here at the end of the video. So now for the fun part, putting in the yeast. For this, I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon. And we'll get our lid back on, give this a swirl. Again, we want to swirl this. We don't want to shake it. So we want to avoid as much as possible having our yeast kind of climb up the sides. If the yeast are on the sides of your fermentation vessel, they're not in your liquid. And if they're not in your liquid, they're probably not going to ferment a whole lot of sugar for you. And so with that, I'm just going to go ahead and grab an airlock, put some sanitizer fluid in there. 1 airlock acquired. And we put that into the silicone grommet here. So, after all that, you may be sitting there shaking your head, maybe screaming at your screen. What are you doing? This can't possibly turn out well, right? Is this really a good idea? And I think that my answer to that is, it depends on how this turns out. Is brewing a full gallon of this a bad idea? Yes. Yes, it is. But if it turns out well, then I have a full gallon, roughly, of a delicious mango, guava, whatever we're going to call this. So with that, we'll give this a week or 2, maybe longer. I really don't know how long this one is going to take. There's not as much sugar in there, so I'm hoping it doesn't take too long, but I've just never done anything like this before, so we'll see how it goes. But we'll take a peek, or at least after a week, get you an action shot in the middle here to see how it's fermenting, and then we'll go from there. So stick around. All right, welcome back, folks. So it has been 10 days since we first started the mango guava wine. We started this on 7/19, and it is currently 7/29. So I noticed that there hasn't been any activity in the airlock for quite a while. There's still a little bit of back pressure moving the sanitizer fluid up kind of away from the brew. Something that there's probably still some off-gassing and things like that. But as far as bubbles and all that, I haven't seen anything in quite a while. We will confirm that the brew is done fermenting with a gravity reading here just to double check and make sure. But like I said, there hasn't really been much activity at all. So I'm thinking it's pretty much done. With that, we will also give it a little taste, see how it goes. You probably noticed that there is quite a bit of sediment or a thick layer at the bottom, and then there's still quite a bit of the pulp or the sediment on top as well. And so I think that most of this came from the guava nectar. After I shot the video, or after I started the video, I did end up taking a drink of both of the mango nectar and the guava nectar. And the mango nectar was pretty standard, nothing I wasn't unexpecting. But the guava nectar, the pulp in the guava nectar was aggressive, for lack of a better term. At one point, I drank some of the guava nectar, and I almost felt like a little bit of a scratch that going down the throat. Like it was, there were some sharp pieces in that stuff. So I think that that's probably where most of this is coming from. So with that, I do have a couple of 1 liter containers here to put this into. You know, I don't know if it's going to be a tasty brew. I don't know if it's going to be gross. I'm not quite sure. So having it in these 2 little 1 liter containers, I can try a couple different things. So say we crack into this and I want to back sweeten it or want to try it with a little bit of sweetening in it. I can try that with 1. Let's go ahead and get this opened up here. Upon first smell, there's a little bit of a rotten egg smell, a little bit of a sulfur smell to this. That can happen with brews when the yeast gets a little stressed. I'm wondering if the heavy pulp from the guava nectar, when it's sank to the bottom, sometimes there's that super thick layer on the bottom, and some of the yeast and sugars and stuff like that can get trapped down there. They can't really mix in well and kind of stresses the yeast out. We'll still give it a shot here and see how it goes. Other times it can be also just from the sediment and things like that still in there. There are a few things we can do to try to get that out of there. Basically what it is that the sulfur smell comes from a gas or a byproduct. And so oftentimes degassing the brew away from all of the nasty, gross floaties, so we want to get it away from there. But degassing it away from that can help to release those smells and those flavors. We can degas either by letting it sit for a while. You can swirl it gently so the gas escapes, but oxygen doesn't get reintroduced, and so on and so forth. But we'll start off with a reading here and see where we're at. For the reading, well, the hydrometer drops real far down, so that tells me that we are dry. Well, it looks like the final gravity is going to be 0.996, so that's a little below 1. We're completely dry there. And since the original gravity was 1.050, that should give us a final ABV of about 7.1 or so, which is about what I was expecting from the get-go. So let's go ahead and give this a taste here. So I'm interested to see how this is going to smell when it's outside of the container. It's been swirled around a little bit, manipulated a little bit. Let's see if it still has that sulfur smell to it. And I am very pleasant to report that it doesn't. I don't smell any sulfur in this whatsoever, so that makes me very hopeful that all of that gross, rotten egg smell is coming from the sediment in there. Well, I would be lying if I said I wasn't just a little bit nervous to try this out. I've never done something quite as mad science-y as this before, but I guess I gotta stop talking and give it a shot. This is actually pretty good. The first flavor you get, or the first taste, there isn't really a ton of flavor in it. It's kind of just there. But then the aftertaste, like I can taste both guava and mango in this. From the smell, I don't smell either. Kind of just smells like generic booze, I guess. Yeah, that initial taste, there's really just not much to it. But then once it sits on the tongue, you get the flavors of the mango and the guava. And now keep in mind, I didn't add any other flavors to this, so I really wasn't expecting a whole lot other than mango and guava. But I wasn't really expecting it to be this pleasant. I will say this would definitely benefit from some aging still. I don't know how much degassing is really going to be needed on this once we get it away from the gross stuff. But all things considered, this is pretty good. Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and bottle these up. I don't think I'm going to back sweeten this. I don't think it really needs it. The other thing is the mouthfeel on this, whether it's from the tannins or just from the natural thickness of the nectars. Like it almost feels like you're drinking an alcoholic juice. So whether or not the tannins were needed, I'm glad I put them in there because the end result ended up being pretty solid. Let's go ahead and get these 1 liters filled up. I only have 2 1 liters here because with how much of the pulp and stuff like that, all that sediment is in here, I really don't think I'm going to get a whole lot more than 2 liters out of this. There's a pretty good chance that I'll get one of these and then it'll start to kind of fill up the second one with a little bit of sediment. So we'll see how this goes. For that, I have just my little smaller racking siphon here. This is the one with the metal mesh filter here on this. As you can imagine, I think a filter might be pretty beneficial in this one here. So I'm trying to just get my stuff together here. Come on. I'm just trying to get that filter down as close to the bottom of the container, like just above the sediment as possible. I want to get away from the nasty stuff on top, and I want to be above the nasty stuff on bottom. All right, this is not going super well. I'm gonna go ahead and get the container that I used to set this on top of. Why I didn't just get that in the first place, I couldn't tell you. All right, I think we're gonna call her there. Yes, there's still plenty in this container. I'm not really too concerned about leaving some of this behind. Is it good? Yeah, it's good. Is it the best thing I've ever made? Absolutely not. Well, there you have it, folks. A mango and guava nectar mad science brewing experiment. I didn't really have any idea how this was going to turn out when we first started this venture together. But as far as I'm concerned, we made a drinkable alcoholic beverage. That's about as much as I was hoping for, to be real honest with you. By no means am I going to suggest that you run to Costco or something similar and pick yourself up a gallon of mango nectar or guava nectar and give this a shot. But, you know, if you're looking for a fun thing to try out, then by all means, give it a shot. If you have any questions about anything you saw in the video, or if you have any ideas or suggestions for a future video, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd also greatly appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's still a pretty new channel here, so any support is going to go a long ways and be very much so appreciated. So with that, I think I'm going to put these in the fridge, get them cold, and see how they turn out in the next couple weeks. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you next time.